Congratulations to Jessica Lange for her 5th nomination at the Emmys for American Horror Story. She has won twice. And here to talk to her about it is Chris Beachum, our managing editor, and I'm Tom O'Neill. Jessica, I counted up the number of episodes of Horror Story that you've been in. It's more than 56. So these are 1-hour showcases. That means it's the equivalent of having shot 30 motion pictures.
And it feels like it, yes.
Oh, it does feel like it. Did Ryan tell you that this might be what you're getting into when he wooed you to do this project?
No, way back then, way back when I did the first season. No. I had no idea what I was in for. But, thinking back on it, I mean, the 4 seasons that I did for American Horror Story and the characters, I had the greatest time. I mean, it was really hard work, and it was incredibly long hours, and it was chaos and madness half the time. But there was an energy to it, and the characters that I ended up, the 4 characters that I played were, I mean, they were exciting. It was fun to do. It was, always taking something to the limit. So I enjoyed it. I did. And this last little comeback thing, the return of the first character, even though it was a kind of a frantic time because I was shooting something else, but it was fun to go back and revisit that story and that character.
Constance is such a complicated character because she is both good and evil. In this final season, for example, at one point when she confronts her demon grandchild, Michael, as the Antichrist, she threatens him, throws him out of the house, is fearlessly confrontational to him. At other times, you're terrified by him. It's a physical role. He pins you up against a wall. He shakes you on the sofa. And are times when you're very good, you call in a priest because you're worried about his soul, and he kills the priest. But yet you have a line in episode 6 where you say, "It has occurred to me I was put on earth to raise monsters." And delighting in it. The character of Constance is so complicated.
Yeah. She was, when Ryan first called me about that character and about, doing the show. I mean, it was a very difficult time in my personal life because I had come to the end of like a 30-year relationship and I was completely disoriented. And going into that series somehow, I don't know, revitalized me and made me understand, that there was a whole way of working that I had never done before, which was really, how can I describe it? You never had time to prepare. You never knew where your character was going. You never knew, the next script, when you were even going to get it. Sometimes you'd only get it the morning when you would start shooting that episode. So it forced me to work in a way that with complete and total abandon. And I found that for that moment in my life, it was exactly what I needed. So I'm forever grateful to Ryan for giving me the opportunity to, create that character at that time. And so to come back 8 years later and revisit her was actually, I have to say this also, because Ryan knows me so well as an actor, that and so do the writers, Tim Minear and Brett Falchuk, and they know what I like to do. So they always, like seeing a death scene or, a psychotic breakdown or an emotional breakdown or whatever it's always exciting, and it always forces me into areas that I hate to admit it, but I love to explore. So there you go.
Our senior editor, Marcus Dixon, wrote down his favorite lines of Constance's from episode 6. Here they are, okay? If you have a favorite here. The first one is when you appear at the top of the steps when Billy Porter and Emma show up. You turn, you say, "I'm Constance Langdon, and this is my fucking house." There's another one that you say, because you're irritated at these people coming into the house. If you really do have witchcraft at your disposal, then why don't you just abracadabra that goddamn hell out of my house? There's another one when they're trying to get you to tattle on Michael and you say, "I don't spill a drop of tea for free, kiddos." And you want them to bump off Francis Conroy. And then the best line, which is in the finale. Oh my God, it just gives you a chill as a fan of this series. When you throw Michael out of the house, your demon grandchild, and Emma comes back in time and runs him over in a car. He's not in the house, so that means he doesn't get to live his spirit forever. And he's trying to coax you into taking him into the house as he dies. And you say to the devil spawn, "Go to hell." You have those lines. They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a suspension of reality. That's what we're doing with this show. But like I said, I mean, it's all been it's all been a great adventure, and Constance has that. I mean, the complexity that you were talking about, and taking everything to the edge, and just, you know, it was when I went back to revisit it, I really didn't remember her that well, to tell you the truth, because enough years have passed. And I went back and I looked at her and I thought, you know, they had written a really well-crafted character. I mean, it was very well written. And I don't even know if I realized it at the time, but it holds up. And just, you know, listening to those lines again, the writers really, really created something unique, I think, for me with that character. Well, with all 4 of the characters I've played, but I'm particularly fond of Constance.
I am too. She's fearless. Chris, come on in.
I wanted to ask you long before, now it's fashionable for film stars, Oscar winners, to do television in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. A ton of them are nominated, like yourself, at the Emmys this year. But when you did Streetcar in '96,
yeah,
there was a division line between, you know, people doing film and people doing television. Why? And you've had 10 Emmy nominations now, including Streetcar. Why has that always felt comfortable for you doing television as a medium?
Well, you know, I remember the first time I worked in London and on stage, and there would be these great stage actors, and they would have just come from recording some, you know, play or whatever for radio, and then they were going to do a television series, and then they were going to do a film, and then they were going to do another play, you know, another something on the West End or at the National. And I thought, that's how an actor should work. I mean, we shouldn't be, you're a television actor, you're a film actor, you're a stage actor. I mean, the English actors just move between all these mediums, and it just seems so right to me that you should not be confined or pigeonholed or categorized. That if you wanted to do a radio drama, that's what you did in the afternoon before you came to the theater for the evening performance. And it was, you know, I know there was, particularly with Streetcar, there was no possibility whatsoever that we were going to film it, to do it as a movie, because, I mean, first of all, you'd be insane to do it as a film after Kazan's, you know, film with Vivian Leigh and Marlon Brando. But I thought the opportunity to actually record it, you know, and the only way we could do it would be for television, was something I never wanted to pass up. So after doing the stage production, then we filmed it for television, and it never occurred to me that I was crossing a line into a medium that I was not part of. So, and now you see it. You see a lot of film actors doing television and vice versa, and people moving around, and that's just the way it should be, I think.
It's our job professionally, Jessica, to track award winners, award ceremonies, etc. And I'm always especially aware of your graciousness in acceptance speeches to remember to thank the writers. The actors don't do that. It's so rare. I went through some of your past acceptance speeches at award shows last night, and here's what you said when you took the Golden Globe in 2012, which was for the first season of Horror Story. You said, "I want to thank the writers because I think it's rare to find a beautiful piece of writing that gives you something to do."
Yeah.
And then as I spun through on YouTube, it was just fun to do your various acceptance. And again, you always singled them out with special, special gratitude. Chris and I were with you and Susan Sarandon on set of Feud for the filming of the very, very last scene. And as that whole miniseries wrapped up, we watched you call out to the cast a very thoughtful thing for the whole crew. You brought out an ice cream cart, and you stuck around and you helped feed the camera guys ice cream. It's a level of graciousness and kind of old school thoughtfulness that pressed us a lot, by the way.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, where would we be, first of all, without the writers? I mean, and if you don't have good writers, and I've been fortunate enough to have writers who are writing specifically for me, so I do appreciate them. I mean, 1000%, I know how indebted I am to them, because everything starts there. And if you don't have that, there's not, I mean, I know over the years, there's that fallacy, there's that thing that tape that runs in your mind where you get a kind of a mediocre script, or you're working with like a director that you don't really have faith in, and you keep saying to yourself, now I'll find a way to make this work. I can find a way to make this work. And 90% of the time you can't, because it always starts with the script. It starts with the character. It starts with the writing. It starts with the dialogue. And if you don't have that, you've got nothing. So I am acutely aware of how important writers are, and I want to stay on the good side of them.
And Chris and I are acutely aware of how frequently your colleagues are not appreciative of that. So go ahead, Chris.
I had a couple of Broadway questions, if you don't mind. One is, you played won a Tony for Long Day's Journey. We talked about Streetcar. Is there a classic role that you would love to play on Broadway that is out there?
Because I've talked to various producers and directors about, doing another production, because I would love to be back on stage. But the two characters that I was passionate about playing, one was Blanche Dubois, and the other, which is probably my favorite character I've ever played in all these long, 40 years of doing this, Mary Tyrone. And I can't honestly imagine another character. So I'm hoping maybe there'll be at some point a new play, but there's also the problem, which we can't dance around, that I've aged out of a lot of characters that maybe I would have wanted to play at some point. Like Hannah from Night of the Iguana, or Martha and Virginia Woolf. I mean, I'm too old to do those parts now. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to be back on stage. more than anything, but there's nothing that really appeals to me at this point.
My other Broadway question was, just because we love and hearing about stories about people. Tootsie was on Broadway this year.
Yeah.
The lead won Tony Award. Were you able to go see it? And if you did, what did you think?
You know, I did not go see it.
It seems like that. If it was me, it would be so hard.
I'm not sure.
A role that I loved being played by somebody else.
Yeah, I think it was very well received from what I understand, but the truth is I didn't really have any curiosity about it. So yeah, I didn't bother to go see it.
Jessica, I want to have the audacity of ranking my favorite horror story seasons, and I would love to hear your reaction. I think the best of them all is Asylum. I think number 2 is Freak Show. Number 3, Murder House. And then number 4, Apocalypse. What do you think of that?
Well, I never saw Apocalypse, so I don't know. So of the 3 that I would agree, of the 4 that I did, I would put them in exactly the order that you just did. Asylum first, Freak Show second, Murder House third, and then Coven, which was the other season that I did, in 4th place. Yeah.
Right. I liked Coven.
That's exactly how I would rate them.
Okay. I liked Coven too, but I've told Ryan this too. I don't think there was enough fighting among the witches. There's a scene, for example, where you as the Supreme take on the young witches, and we think as viewers, oh, they're going to kill each other. Yeah. And then someone rings the doorbell and you all go and answer the door and everybody forgets about the fight. It's like, no, go back and kill each other.
Yeah, that was and it's funny because actually I was stunned that year to get the Emmy for that part. But again, the part was very well written. I didn't particularly like the whole setup and season and story we were telling. So, but I don't know. It was not my favorite. I mean, my very favorite, just from the experience of doing it, was Freak Show. Although I think Asylum was the better season, but I loved Freak Show.
Chris, I'm going to give you the final question here. Go ahead.
Just one last question. We talked about Ryan Murphy a couple of times. He's really been the king of television the last decade or more. What about him works? Why is he the king? What does he do that other people aren't doing?
Ryan has a kind of a uncanny sense of what, it's the reading of the zeitgeist. It's that sense of what hasn't been done, but what is going to work at that moment. I don't know. He's a rare talent and extremely prescient in a way as to what will be successful. I mean, I'll be curious to see, how The Politician is received, because I did a small part in that, and we shot that last fall, but it'll be coming out in another month or so. And yeah, I mean, it's all very, it's a mysterious thing for me to watch Ryan work, but there is some brilliance in the way he reads, the kind of the zeitgeist, what people want, what people are ready for. I don't know how he does it. I mean, I've always been out of step with what's popular, but yeah, he does. He has a sixth sense about something like that.
And you're smart to trust him, Jessica, because look at these genres you're working in, not only horror, but camp horror. And so that has 2 chances to go off the rails. It doesn't, luckily, because he's a master. And then it's fascinating for us as awards watchers to watch you regularly be honored and win awards for that, because people don't win awards for horror. Kathy Bates won an acting award for Horror Story. Of course, she won her Oscar in Misery for a horror role, too. You won one of your Oscars for comedy. These things traditionally are not honored, but the fact that you go with awards, they don't have the pretension that Hollywood usually demands. in order to get you that chunk of gold at a podium that you guys deserve so often for good work that often goes unrecognized. But you're fearless. We love that. You just go for it.
Well, either fearless or stupid. I don't know which one.
Oh, good luck to you. No, you're playing it right. You're just doing it perfectly. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Good to talk to you.